Here we have my example of a Rudall and Rose patent head with the integral tuning mechanism in the head. This one belongs to flute number 4683, which has been my main playing flute for 30 odd years, although I no longer use this head with it. But I played this head quite happily for over 20 years. It's pretty heavy because of the solid brass in the head and the fact that there's a double metal lining tube because of the telescopic action. But anyway, I'm going to try and demonstrate it. First, here's a normal simple system tuning head with a tuning barrel, and you can see how that's just two nesting sleeves, a male and a female one, that give you a good 2 fingers worth, a centimetre or so of tunability. It's over half an inch, well over 15 millimetres, even just as far as the end of the barrel sleeve, and you can go further than that. That, in practice on a flute, is well over a tone of pitch difference. And the patent head has roughly the same span, except that it doesn't come apart unless you dismantle it, because it's limited by the screws that drive the mechanism in the head, and you mustn't ever twist it here because you'll wreck the mechanism inside. It actually operates by turning this decorative crown cap with the famous Rudall and Rose patentees with the royal arms on the head there, on the crown. So you twist the crown, and when you do so, as you'll see, it drives the two tubes of the tuning slide apart, and that's just about the end of it there now. That's as far as it goes. Now that's a pretty big range. If I show you just on the head, and actually on the flute body, on the lowest pitch, full extension, there was a D and an A. And if I wind it all the way in and play the same two fingerings, I play G and hold that pitch in your mind and whiz it back in. G again. So that's a pretty big pitch range, and when you do that, if you do that on plain head without adjusting the position of the stopper, then when you actually play the flute assembled, the octave intervals will be disrupted. Basically, the further out you pull the tuning slide, the flatter your overall pitch, the wider the octaves become. So you have to use the stopper, adjust the stopper to narrow the octaves up. If you pull out to flatten, then you must move the stopper in. If you push in to sharpen, then obviously you must pull the stopper back out to widen the octaves again. And that's why these flutes have a screw adjustable crown stopper system that lets you do that operation. But what the patent head does it for you. And if you can see up it, I'll put some light into it. If you can see up it, there's a faceplate there that's at the that blocks it, that's at the top end, that on a travelling stopper that moves in opposite motion to the tuning slide. So when you extend the tuning slide, the stopper face moves towards the embouchure hole. So tuning slide longer, stopper moves in, tuning slide shorter, stopper moves out, and it's calibrated, it's set at what Rudall and Rose, or John Rose probably, thought was the correct settings for the movement. Whether the two positions would actually be quite that simply correlated is maybe questionable, but it's set according to how Rose thought it should be, which is a useful piece of information really for when you're using one of these as to what in the 19th century they might have thought was a suitable stopper position for a given tuning slide extension. Anyway, I'll try with the light up it. It's going to be a bit tricky, but if I get this just right, you can see the stopper faceplate there. Oh, a bit less light, that's a bit too shiny perhaps. How's that? You can just see the stopper faceplate, the edge of it appearing through the embouchure. Now if I try and hold the flute at the same angle, I'm going to turn the crown and extend the tuning slide, which you'll be able to see here, and you should be able to see that the stopper actually moves closer to the embouchure. You'll gradually see more of the crescent of the stopper that you can see like that. So as the tuning slide gets longer, or the head moves, the embouchure hole moves away from the body of the flute, the stopper comes closer in, and that's its limit there. So if I wind it back the other way now, close the slide up, you can see the stopper face receding again up the tube. So that is how a Rudall and Rose patent head works. So regarding the stopper position and what these patent heads tell us about it, and the calibration they thought was, or that John Rose thought was appropriate, if I put a tape measure in it, you can see, it's upside down I'm afraid, but you can see that with the tuning slide closed and the stopper at its furthest back, it's approximately 22 millimeters from the center of the embouchure hole. And if I open the tuning slide right out, which is exactly 30 millimeters, so the extension of the tuning slide there, I'll put this on, as you can see, oops, not quite all the way there, is from 10 to 13 as I got it on the tape measure. So you've got 30 millimeters of tuning slide, and there the stopper is this tape measure showing properly. There the stopper is at I make that about 17.5 millimeters from the end, so it's moved about 4.5–5 millimeters forward for the 30 mil extension of the tuning slide. So that's what it does position wise. I'll just try and show what it does, that the octaves remain in tune across the pitch range. So this is at its sharpest. I haven't checked what A reference that is, but I'll just overblow harmonics on D and G without changing fingering for the 3 octaves. And then with normal fingerings. So you can hear the harmonic is slightly flatter of the standard fingering. And then the same thing on G, harmonics first. Normal fingerings. Okay, same thing, you'd expect the harmonic to be a little flat. Now, if I go to about the middle of the tuning slide, and this will be probably somewhere around about A440, depending on how I'm blowing today. Harmonics, fingerings. Harmonics again. And on G, fingerings, and then opened all the way out, so as to be somewhat flat of modern pitch. That's the harmonics. Now the normal fingerings. And on G, it's harder to blow the harmonics at this setting. Not much difference between the harmonic and the proper fingering there. So, as you can see, it does its job quite well of keeping those octave length harmonic ratios correct. For what it's worth, having just checked the pitches, the longest slide extension, the lowest pitch it plays at for my blowing technique is around about A425, and the sharpest is about A458. And A440 is with the tuning slide open about 18 millimeters, depending on atmospheric conditions and exactly how I'm blowing on the day and that sort of thing. But yeah, so A425 to A458 are within its tuning range. Amazing, really.